Hey everybody, and thanks for joining me out in the garden today. It's a beautiful day. It's May 7th and it's just an absolutely beautiful day. If anyone out there has been watching my YouTube channel for any time at all, you'll know that I like to utilize as much of my yard for growing food as possible. And you'll see along the perimeter of my fence, it's dead. There's nothing growing along the perimeter, and that's because every year for the past 5 years, I've been doing what I call perimeter gardening. And I'll grow along the perimeter of my fence to maximize how much food we can grow in our backyard here in town as possible. Right now, you're gonna see me work up this ground, and then we're gonna plant some okra. Okra is a nice vertical growing plant. It does well when it's grown in singular rows as opposed to something like corn that needs to be clustered up for pollination purposes. Okra is a perfect example of something that you can grow along a fence row. It doesn't need the fence for support, but it does great in growing in a singular row, and it does not require any additional staking. All it needs is some soil and some adequate moisture to get the plant up and going. After that, it can do well in poor soil. It does not require much additional fertilization. Just keep the plant watered regularly, and you'll have pods in about 60 days up until your first frost date. Well, let me put it in time-lapse mode, and let's get to work in this ground. So what you just witnessed there is I went through with my spade hoe here, chopped up the ground real good, and that worked in some of the organic material. It also exposed some small sticks and things. After that, I took my small cultivating rake, pulled it back through, so now I have a little pile of larger clods, some organic material, some sticks, some weeds and whatnot. I'll take that to the compost pile. And then you've seen me take my pointed hoe again, and I dug a trench, or I drug a trench through. So I wasn't using any chopping motion, just a simple straight drag to get a nice furrow down this fence. These panels are about 10 foot, so I've got about 32 foot of area trenched out or furrowed. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna bring in my okra seed, which I've saved the last couple seasons. I've got some Clemson spineless seed, and I have some red burgundy seed that I've saved. I'm gonna plant about 15 foot of each. So you're gonna see I'm gonna put it in time lapse. I'm gonna start spacing it. I'm gonna plant the seeds, one seed per spot, about every 4 inches. Once everything comes up, I'll be thinning that to every other plant, but I wanna make sure I get a good stand. One of the important things to keep in mind when you're planting okra seed, your soil temperature has to be 65 degrees or greater. Anything lower, your seed's gonna rot. It cannot be above 90, it cannot be below 65. Right now, my soil temps are 71 degrees. It's the ideal time of year. Last year, I had to wait an additional 2 weeks to get that temperature, but we already have the temperature, and the next 2-week forecast looks fantastic. So let's get some seed in the ground. Next thing I'm gonna do is take the pointed hoe back through and lightly cover up that seed and then water it in. All right, I went through and covered up all the seed. I gave them a good watering. Something to keep in mind with okra seed, it's a very hard seed. It's a round, hard seed. It's gonna take a good amount of water to get that seed softened and really start the germination process. I do not recommend soaking your seed in advance. Some people I've seen will soak their seed. I don't find that necessary, but what is necessary on your initial watering, you wanna make sure you get a good deep watering so that the seed is definitely getting moisture to it. And I will water this every day until it germinates, and then I will water it every other day until the plant is about 5 inches tall, at which time I will just try to keep the soil damp 2 inches under the soil surface. So depending on how much rain you're getting, depending on your planting location, depending on your wind, there's a lot of factors you need to take into account. But you can just simply take a small spade shovel, stick it in the ground about 6 inches from your plant, pinch the soil to the side so that you can see underneath it, and if it's super dry, go ahead and give your plants a watering. Once the plants are about 2 foot tall, you can reduce watering to once a week as long as you have some rain coming in. Okra will produce more with the more rain they get, but they are very drought tolerant plant. They grow very well in the south and they do not need additional water, but you can really push your production by providing them with that additional water. So okra is an excellent thing to grow in the garden. It's much better fresh than at your store. Most of what okra you find in the store is gonna be bruised. It's not gonna look that great, but you can grow a very high quality vegetable for an extremely low amount of effort. So I definitely recommend you try to plant some okra this year in your garden. Well, from my garden to yours, have a great day.